This is the Business Chat Podcast. Welcome back to the Business Chat. I'm in my construction series, and we're in women in construction this week. And man, we jumped in last minute and reached out to our guest today, Morgan Dawson, who's kind enough in her busy schedule to jump on with this guy and talk about Dawson Workwear. What's up, Morgan? How are you?
Hi, Drew. Good. How are you?
Doing great. Again, thank you so much for the short notice. I know we weren't even able to get you one of these fancy little mugs, but we're going to ship you one, a coffee mug. Got my pint glass today. So there's a lot to talk about. We want to really just highlight your story again. We're not necessarily interviewing, women in construction in the field today, although you'd be delighted again to know this guest has spent time in the field. She knows field work. She's been in the construction office. She understands what ladies are doing and men alike. Morgan's got a lot to share with us today. Today, we're going to talk about her status as owner, founder of Dawson Workwear. Tagline is built for her. Very cool line. You can check that out now while you're listening. You can head over to dawsonworkwearforher.com. You're a construction management major. You were at Hensel Phelps as a field engineer, and then you transitioned into this kind of new schedule, little flexibility with the folks at Orchestra Partners, where you're also running Dawson Workwear. So you're a very busy young lady with a really neat set of experiences at such a young age. Before we get into all that, though, we do our little thing around here for virtual cheers. So you go first. What are you drinking today? What'd you bring to the show?
I am drinking a matcha latte from Revelator Coffee Shop in Birmingham, Alabama. So good.
Yeah.
Downstairs from my office, so it's a little dangerous to pop down there too much, but highly recommend if you're in the Birmingham area, go check them out.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll link not only Revelator, but everything else here from Morgan's LinkedIn, the website, how you can reach her. And for myself, big shock, Drew's brought the alcoholic drink again. I always get a hard time. People are like, you're always drinking beer. These nice people bring tea and coffee, but it's Michigan, so we're overloaded. I've got Atwater. This is their vanilla Java. I'm typically not a porter guy, but this is like having a cold brew. This is very good. So cheers to Atwater and to Revelator. Cheers to you. Thanks for being on the show. Let's get into it. All right, Morgan. So I set it up. I said 100 things, but let's back up a little and just talk about your background. A lot of folks watching or listening, if they've still got attention span to still be with us. You know how these podcasts are. People are like, and I'm done. I'm already on her page and buying her clothes or whatever. So that'd be great. Win for you.
Yeah, we love that too.
Yeah, there's no problem if you're leaving right now to go buy Dawson Workwear. Talk to us about just who you are, your background, where you went to school, and how you kind of arrived at this point. Just give us that flyby. It'd be great to hear that from you.
I am from Columbus, Ohio originally. I went to Kent State University in Ohio, Northern Ohio for college, where I studied construction management. So originally I went into college and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was in an undecided program that didn't really help me out much. And I met a friend that was in the construction management program who introduced me to my professor, who kind of explained what construction management is. And I fell in love and joined the program. So fast forward to my sophomore year, I landed an internship with Hensel Phelps in DC for the summer of my junior year. So that was going to be my first ever experience to the construction industry. I had no idea what to do, what to wear, So I grabbed some jeans from the Levi's outlet. I ordered some steel-toed boots from Amazon. When I went to buy them, they were like, oh, Amazon Prime. And I clicked on the women's and the Prime little check mark went away. So I ended up ordering them, crossing my fingers, hoping that they would show up in time for my internship. And they didn't come in time. So my mom was driving me to DC for my internship, and I was freaking out. I didn't have steel-toed boots, and it was a requirement to go on the job site. And we were driving from Ohio to Maryland, where I was moving into Bethesda. And we went to the Boot Barn. Okay. I think it's in West Virginia. And we showed up right when they opened.
Boot Barn.
Perfect. Shout out to the Boot Barn. You guys saved my life.
Heck yes.
And we got there right when they opened, and they had one pair of steel-toed boots that were in my size. So I was able to get steel-toed boots in time for my internship. And throughout my time there, the jeans were fine. All the men are wearing their Carhartts and stuff like that. But the jeans were good for what I needed. I went back to college, got a full-time job offer with Hensel Phelps, which I accepted, finished my senior year in the middle of COVID. And then I moved back to DC. Back to DC for my full-time job. And again, the thing came up, like, what am I supposed to wear on the job site? The jeans don't have all the pockets you need. They're not as durable. They're a little constricting almost. So, I kind of played around with the idea, and I was in Birmingham with my family for my sister's birthday. And, we were kind of talking about it, and that's where Dawson Workwear was born. So we came up with Dawson Workwear, our tagline built for her. And I kind of
Right.
just snowballed from there. It was honestly, it happened very quickly. My friend that was in the fashion program at Kent State University helped me. I sent her my sketch of what I wanted, and she turned it into this design, and it was insane. It was so beautiful. So I took it to a seamstress in Alexandria, and it was a disaster. I mean, the sample was, it was just, I think the task was too tall, which it was no blame to her at all.
Sure.
But I just took a pair of my favorite fitting jeans, and I was like, hey, can you take this and turn it into this? And she did what she could do, but that was when I kind of realized, hey, maybe I need to do a little bit more research, see what the actual process should be to get this started. So I found the accessory think tank at a trade show, and they kind of handle all of my production management and stuff like that. And we were able to turn my design into a sample, and then later into all of my inventory that I have now. And we launched recently in July 2022.
Wow. Like a bullet out of a gun. You just went through the whole story. That's awesome. You're obviously,
Yeah,
and
sorry,
you've
that
been,
was a lot.
no, it's great. You've been doing this, pre-recording too. I was like, this will be very easy to interview. You're very fresh on your story. And it's good because you're going to be asked a lot. I've noticed what you've had to talk about and say isn't just trending because of this week. It's really unique, Morgan. It's very cool what you're bringing to the marketplace, but then who you are makes it really fun. And I think you know that, right? Levi's could have said, well, we've got women work, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But having you as an individual with the startup, kind of the American dream story from that perspective, it's great. So let me back you up a little though, and just zoom in here. This is you and your sister. You're sitting down, you're reflecting a little bit on how it went trying to hire out to get that first iteration done, or talk to me about that first moment when you were like, hey, this is going to work. Like this is needed, and I need to go ahead and take the jump, because that's always kind of, lump in the throat. You're writing the check. You're putting yourself out there, and it could totally all just be a cost and a waste, and just the fears of it. So slow down and tell us again how that really went, those conversations for you, because that's fun for people to hear.
Yeah, so it was actually both my sisters, my twin sister and my older sister, Kyle and Delaney, and my parents. We were all visiting my sister, Kyle, in Birmingham for her birthday. And we were all just sitting around in the living room kind of talking about, I was a field engineer for Hensel Phelps at the time, kind of my experience in construction and how I didn't have workwear options. And we kind of talked about it before, but never seriously. But this time I was like, I think this is really something that will turn into something. I want to do this. And my dad is in construction. He's a mason. Okay. And so he has, 30 years of experience in the construction industry. And he was like, you know what? Like, yeah, why don't just do it? Just give it a shot. And
does
so
he have mason hands, Morgan? The guys that like work like that have like knuckles and wrinkles. You can't make it up. You like look at their hand. Is he that guy?
He is that guy. He's
just brawny.
He's brawny too.
Man.
Yeah. He's all tan from the sun exposure.
Oh yeah, dude. He's a man's man. I get it. So you got like the family culture as well as construction. One thing, because I'll just do this as the host, the interviewer, and I apologize to interrupt you.
No.
So you're talking about how there wasn't anything. What was it like? What were the options? Were you just did you have to just cuff up your pants and kind of tie a knot inside your shirt? Like, what did it look like when you were for ladies around you too? Were they looking at you like, Morgan, suck it up. This is what we all have to do. It's just going to be a little baggy or uncomfortable. What was that like?
So on the job site, women really only wear jeans. There are a few women's options out there, like Carhartt has a women's line, but it's really just a small version of the men's side of the men's pant. So I kind of drew the line when I tried on a little boy's pair of Carhartt pants and they didn't fit. And that's when I was like, you know what? Like, this is a little embarrassing. I probably shouldn't have admit
ridiculous.
That. Yep. So that was actually right before I came to Birmingham. So I think that's kind of what fed my inspiration and made me want to turn it into something. But a lot of women just wear like cheap jeans.
Right.
And men have all of these like super, just amazing options. And there's a million brands out there for men. And like, I draw my inspiration from Filson and Carhartt Work in Progress, which are two of the higher end dependable workwear brands for men. So
Sure.
I want to create that for women.
Why
Something you
not?
can rely on. Yeah.
Wow, that's tremendous. And so talking about the fashion side of this, or I should say the clothing aspect is interesting because you're kind of talking about two different topics here. You've got a culture of going, we just don't have it, or like you said,
Mm-hmm.
limited Carhartt, and also the fact is men and women range in size and shape, right? It's one of those nutty. The Gap at some point has to go. You know what? The average dude's about 5'10" and kind of
Mm-hmm.
has this shape, and then guys like me that are 6'4" with 32 size waist, we walk in and go, you got any 40 length jeans, size 30, 32? And they're like, dude, what is that for a tree? Like, what's your problem? So have you faced this idea that you're like, oh, okay, I've got women workwear, but some women are Amazon women. Some gals are petite. Some are curvier than others. How does Dawson Workwear kind of approach that? What's your ethos there?
So that is definitely one of the biggest learning curves I've endured so far. So I just launched with one pair of pants. It was a classic work pant. And
Cool.
I came out with one length, which I really quickly realized was not going to cut it. My mom is tall, but I'm 5'2". I'm really short, but I have long legs. So it's like 30 inches seemed like that should be good.
Gotcha.
So, I've loved all the feedback I've received from, tall women, curvier women, petite women, like myself. And I've turned that into helping craft my future designs. So my end goal is just be, the go-to workwear for women of all shapes and sizes.
Mhm.
So our next design we have launching probably late spring this year. It's called the Relaxed Pant, and it'll have an adjustable waist and stretch in the pant.
Cool.
It's kind of like a construction take on a jogger, if you will. But
Nice.
that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have elastic or adjustable waistbands because, that's perfect for straighter women or curvy women that have to size up to, account for their hips so they don't have that big gap in the back. That's a huge issue when women are shopping for pants.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to do to help combat that. And then, maternity wear will be down the line too.
Maternity wear. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean,
That's something you never think about. I mean, I'm 24. I haven't thought about having kids yet. But when I
Sure.
was working for Hensel Phelps, my superintendent had just had a baby. And kind of think about it, you can't wear leggings on a job site, which a lot of pregnant women wear leggings. So I think it'd be really cool to come up with a design workwear for pregnant women.
yeah, and you're still going to work until you're almost full term, So I mean, you're starting to change shape a little bit. Like
Just
what
a
what
little.
worked 6 months ago, yeah, it's not really working now. Well, that's really neat that you're seeing it in real time. And by the way, congratulations for just launching. It doesn't matter what you do, you'll come out, and hopefully it's been minimal naysayers. I would think you'd have nothing but fans, but you will, if you're not standing for something, then no one will criticize you. So you're not really doing anything. So if you come out and you've got something, it's very normal to get some holes poked in it. People kick your tires like, hey kid, who the hell are, who do you know, what do you know? And so you're putting yourself out there in the space that's and I've talked to a couple of you gals on this series. It's a gender conversation. It's a women in the workplace. What's your politics on that? And you're going, I'm just trying to make clothes that fit. So you'll have to buckle up for that ride too. I can imagine, I'm guessing, and be ready to kind of be, again, just someone with a simple ethos, try not to say too much or do too much. But at the same time, tall, short, yeah, maternity, this is really cool. You're, thinking about all those things. Great. And in general, yeah, go ahead, please.
I've loved all the feedback from women, telling their stories and kind of what they've gone through in their time in the construction industry. And I just use that to come up with new ideas and you can perfect what I have going already. So I
That's
really
cool.
love that women reach out to me with their stories.
Right. Where do you think this will end, if you will, or what limit do you want to stop at in terms of the line, right? I see a beanie, a nice cap. You're talking about maternity. Is this gloves, socks, jackets? It's just kind of, we'll see where it goes. What's your thought today?
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. But my goal after I get through this next pair in the spring is to do some winter wear for women. I think that's one that's
cool.
really hard to find. So I have a really cool winter jacket idea that I'm very excited about.
That's awesome.
And then like fleece lined pants and stuff like that, women's long john, all of that stuff. And then it just goes from there. And
Sure.
working on some other exciting things that I can't talk about yet, but
That's
keep
all
an
good.
eye out.
Yes, we will keep an eye out. Again, for those of you listening, you can check out her site right now. You guys can go to DawsonWorkwearForHer.com. She's got a growing line of, it looks like you said, the pants. You've got accessories. There's more coming. let's talk just a little bit while I've got you still, because again, you're a busy young lady and I want to respect your time. You've done all these things. You brought us up to date on the story, on the that's too funny too, by the way, drawing the line on the little boy's pants.
Yeah,
It's just,
I think that's a pretty solid line.
that needs to go somewhere, by the way, when you develop that about page on the site one day to be like, the moment came when I was, am I really doing this? Is talk to me a little bit about, shameless plug for what kind of you're doing day to day. I think as folks can see on your LinkedIn, you're today as of right now in late February 2023, you're with Orchestra Partners. That seems like you're doing some cool work while you're managing this enterprise of yours. Talk to me a little bit about how maybe even what you're doing at Orchestra is there's an overlap with Dawson, if there is at all. Just curious what your day in the life looks like.
So I started with Orchestra Partners in June of this year. So I haven't been here too long, but I found their website online and immediately fell in love with their mission and what we're doing in downtown Birmingham. So we revitalized buildings in downtown Birmingham. So a lot of historic work. And I'm actually in one of our projects right now. It's called the Frank Nelson Building. It used to be an old office building in the heart of downtown Birmingham, and we've transformed it into 180 apartment units. So we're nearing the finish line here. And this is kind of the first project I've come on with Orchestra, and it's just amazing. I mean, the town is so excited about buildings like this and all the developments that are going on downtown.
Yeah.
And we're actually taking what we're doing in downtown Birmingham and trying to implement that into other small downtowns throughout the U.S. So there's some really exciting things coming up with that, as well as the projects we have in Birmingham.
Man, great.
Yeah, Orchestra has been nothing but supportive with my Dawson Workwear journey. I actually launched shortly after I joined the Orchestra team, and they helped me through my PR kind of push when I first launched. So I don't think I would be here today without them. So thank you to my team at Orchestra for, motivating me and giving me all the tips to get started.
That's great. And we'll link orchestrapartners.com, their portfolio, what they do. And like you said, work extending beyond Birmingham, Alabama. It sounds like through the South and throughout the U.S. It's really neat to see kind of those, unique city planning, gentrification, and yet retaining kind of the history of the area. I'm sure the challenges with zoning, planning, designing, all of that is, it's an understatement that there's passion there, because it's easier to knock a lot of this stuff down and just put in another Starbucks. So it's cool to see folks really partnering with the city and the historic societies and stuff to create unique pieces. And wow, those condos you said, or those apartments, that's a tremendous project. Well, cool. So you're in so many ways, you studied, went into construction. Hensel Phelps, not a small organization. And then moving into what you do today, you're truly the young woman in construction. It's very cool. And to, mention this to one of our other guests, while you may not be wearing a hard hat and reflector vest today, I think they would agree you're for the cause, right? A very much a saluted ghost sister to you from them to try to address a problem of, like you said, okay, I'm actually trying on little boys' pants here. And so it's really cool as they're probably going, okay, I can't wait till the Scout releases this, that, and that. So I'm sure you're growing a fan base, both on LinkedIn where we met, we were introduced, as well as just on the interwebs, as it were. So what else can I say? I don't want to take more of your time other than ask what else is coming that we can be watching for, other than things you're being cagey about with the fashion line. Are you on any kind of speaking tour? Are you on other podcasts? Where else can we be watching for you?
So I have been speaking to General Contractors Women's Group, which is super exciting for me. That's kind of my side passion project that I do through Dawson Workwear. They just bring me on to tell them about my story in construction. And I give them promo codes for their companies. And I've also worked with some general contractors to provide women the workwear, which is really cool. So if you're a GC and you're looking to add, just one more thing to your company marketing page, I'm happy to help out. Because that was one thing I was scrolling through the company apparel pages back at Hensel Phelps. And, you go on the men's page and there's pages and pages of, tops and sweatshirts and polos and all that stuff. And then you go to the women's page and everything can fit on one page. So it's all about inclusion. Like, diversity is one thing, but taking it a step further and working on inclusion within your company is one more thing that will help women feel more comfortable in construction.
Well put. Yeah, and as a marketing guy that has not been in construction, but has worked around contractors in their software, in their marketing, helping to strengthen, their employer brand. A lot of it in their mind is, hey, Drew, the long-haired guy and his crew work on the website, and that's fine. And we're okay with that. But yeah, whether you're trying to tell their story with video, helping to show them how to just attract and retain talent might be the only place we ever need to work with construction companies. But yeah, in their branding, what you're doing is a different, altogether, obviously different idea, but it's also bringing them good resource saying, hey, you've got ladies on your team. This is a real thing now. And I think what I'm learning in this interview series is there's so many more of you, right? Not being just presented visually. The lady in the construction company, always known as kind of, and wrongly so, right, is just in the office. And I think the culture of it is changing. But what I wanted to do is ask you what you think. It doesn't really matter what a straight white male thinks about this. We want to hear what you think. You've worked at Hensel Phelps. You're now with the folks at Orchestra. You're on the front lines kind of going, wow, I'm like trying to address all the different kind of ladies out there for workwear. You're probably too young to see too much of the change. You're not too young, but what have you noticed in your shorter, but it's growing, like rich career for that culture I'm talking about? Have you noticed like, yeah, this seems pretty open to women, or are you going, no, I can see where there's some change needed, just in general? Curious what you think there.
Yeah, so when I was at Hensel Phelps, I was a field girl. Like I loved being out there, helping out the trade, doing layout, all that stuff. So you kind of see a little bit of both. My Hensel Phelps team was so supportive. I think it's kind of, I hate to say this, but generational. The younger men out there are the first ones to volunteer to show you how to do something or teach you something new. There's really not that many people that will straight up do it to your face.
Sure.
So I think, the straight white males of the construction companies are honestly where we should start. I felt so supported at Hensel Phelps. And anytime I had an issue or something, I could go to my superintendent and he would have my back. So that was really amazing.
Cool.
And I think it starts within your companies, and the change will happen throughout time.
Yeah. And ultimately, where I was talking to one of the guests I had on the show, it's just good business. It's good business to bring these ladies up in the organization and really look at how much of a resource y'all are to, field and office and both, and really not seeing them as necessarily being isolated, right? That's another one that's been kind of a shock to me is really, I get to just sit front row and watch and help grow construction companies through what Suited does. But it's neat to see and meet and be introduced to folks that are like, oh yeah, I used to be a field superintendent. I actually ran heavy equipment. I'm looking at these ladies going, dang, good for you, And I get that's not swinging a pickaxe, right? But it's still hard work and it's cold that permeates your bones and like it's early and it's kind of a boys club being out on those job sites and all of that. I go, wow. And they're like, no, now I'm in design. I'm in procurement. I'm actually in project management and moving up through the company, advancing your career. So very cool. Construction is changing. And I think it is neat. Just the fact that you're doing what you're doing, showing that a woman's voice in construction is being heard and it's actually kind of trending, Morgan. It's very cool. It's cool seeing the popularity you have. It's deserved because it's a great cause. So,
I mean, the numbers alone, I think we're up to like 14% women in construction.
Is it really? Goodness.
Yeah. So just a few years ago, I think when I was in college, it was like around 9 or 10%.
That's great.
So I think all these women coming forward and telling their stories and encouraging other young women to enter the construction industry will really help this boom even further. So I'm really excited and I'm happy to be one of those voices. So
excellent. Well, I'm going to tell everyone listening, if you want to reach out to Morgan, you can. Maybe I would say good luck getting a hold of her with her schedule, but she was awfully receptive to us. Be patient, be kind. She's a busy young lady. Again, you guys can hit DawsonWorkwearForHer.com. Both of you are there to purchase workwear, or you just want to see the cool stuff she's working on. She's on LinkedIn. That's public knowledge. We'll link that. Orchestra partners, good job to you all. And thanks again to these tasty beverages that we both brought, Revelator and, of course, Atwater. Well, hey, it's somebody from Ohio and Michigan. Look at, we can be peaceful, right? We can get along. It worked out. You mentioned at the beginning, so no rivalry between Morgan and I. Morgan, we'll be watching for what you're doing and possibly have you back on the show if by then we're not playing tug of war with like Oprah or something, okay? So great to have you.
Well, hopefully that'll be an issue.
Yes, that'd be a good problem for you. Absolutely.
Yes.
Great. Thanks so much, Morgan.
You guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. See ya.